It is day 2 of our ice cream making project. Today you're going to do some research, gather some background information about how ice cream is made. You're going to watch some videos, you're going to do some reading and highlighting, you're going to look at the recipe that we're going to use in class to make that ice cream. And then you're going to choose the flavor that you want to make and how you're going to go about mixing it and actually creating this ice cream. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. Our essential question is, why is salt used to make ice cream? That's going to be our guiding question today. There's going to be a lot of information about salt and what salt actually does in this process. So at this point, let's pause the video and open up your design notebook. All right, now that our design notebook is open, you can see day 2. This is what we are going to do, or what you've done as a class. You're going to read through introduction information, highlight important information about the reaction between ice and salt, and then read our procedure. And then you are going to be responding with some answers to questions and choosing your flavor and mixing method. So click on the day 2 bookmark, and that will drop us right down to the green start for day number 2. Our essential question, again, why is salt used when making ice cream? This is a must-answer question. Hopefully after this video and after class today, you can answer that question. Okay? So today we're going to read through these introduction paragraphs and then answer some of these research questions. Okay? As we read through this, I want you to highlight any vocabulary words, so words that we maybe defined last time that we see in these paragraphs. We're going to highlight in yellow information about how we can make ice cream without a freezer. And in green, we're going to highlight information that we think is important to remember, just any general information that we say, hey, I'd like to remember that. So let's read through this together. Just follow along as I read this, or if you want to pause the video and just read this on your own, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so I'm going to start with the introduction here. Suppose you have a great recipe for chocolate ice cream. You like to make it at home for your family and friends. You make it in a little 1-gallon machine that goes into your freezer. But what if you sell your recipe to a big food company? Now they have to be able to make thousands of gallons a day. Each gallon of ice cream needs to look and taste exactly the same. What kind of equipment could the company use? How could the recipe change? How can the factory make the ice cream at low cost? These are all questions for a chemical engineer. Continuing on here, next paragraph. Ice must absorb energy in order to melt, changing the phase of water from a solid to a liquid. When you use ice to cool the ingredients for ice cream, the energy is absorbed from the ingredients and from the outside environment, like your hands if you're holding the baggie of ice. When you add salt to the ice, it lowers the freezing point of the ice, so even more energy must be absorbed from the environment in order for the ice to melt. This makes the ice colder than it was before, which is how your ice cream freezes. Now, there's a lot in this that we can highlight. If I start with vocabulary, we want to highlight vocabulary in blue. I see the word absorb right here. This is one of our vocabulary terms. So I'm going to highlight it right up here next to the font color. I'm going to choose the blue. I saw freezing point. This is another vocab word. Okay, I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to let you now pause the video and go through and highlight any other vocabulary words that you maybe see. So at this point, please pause the video and highlight vocab words from that paragraph. Now that you have some other vocab words highlighted, we also have information about how we can make ice cream without a freezer. And so we're going to highlight this in yellow. And so one of the things that I noticed, you will probably have some other things highlighted as well, but it's this sentence right here. This makes the ice colder than it was before. So this I'm going to highlight in yellow because it actually talks about we can actually make something colder by having some sort of chemical reaction take place. And that's what we're going to explore through this process. Okay, so right now, again, pause the video, and if there's anything else that you see in this paragraph, and information about how we could make ice cream without a freezer, go ahead and highlight that in yellow. All right, let's continue on. If there was other things that you thought, hey, that's kind of interesting, highlight that in green. Okay, that was one thing I didn't mention there. So let's go on to this last paragraph right here. So follow along with me. You could use other types of salt instead of sodium chloride, NaCl, but you couldn't substitute sugar for the salt because sugar doesn't dissolve well in cold water. Sugar doesn't dissolve into multiple particles. Compounds that break into two pieces upon dissolving, NaCl breaks into Na atoms and chloride atoms or ions, are better at lowering the freezing point than substances that don't separate into particles. This is because the added particles disrupt the ability of the water to form crystalline ice. The salt causes the ice to absorb more energy from the environment, lowering the freezing point. So although it lowers the point at which water will refreeze into ice, you can't add salt to very cold ice and expect it to freeze your ice cream or de-ice a snowy sidewalk. Water must be present. This is why sodium chloride, which is table salt, isn't used to de-ice sidewalks in areas that are very cold. Now there's a lot of information in here about salt and particles and things like that. Particles right there. That's one of our vocab words, so I want to highlight that. So at this point you should pause the video, go through, highlight any vocab words in that paragraph that are blue, any information that talks about how ice cream is made without a freezer, and then anything else that you think is just important, highlight that in green. So go ahead and pause the video with this last paragraph. And if this is confusing to you, we're going to watch some videos here in a little bit that will hopefully kind of give you a visual to what this paragraph was talking about. So go ahead and pause the video and finish your highlighting. Now that you have your highlighting finished, you're going to do a little bit more research. First thing, you're going to read this article, so it's linked right here. Why does salt melt ice? It's a short article to read. And then watch this video, how does salt melt ice? Again, a video, but only 3 minutes long, so watch those, and when you are done, you are going to answer this question, or these two questions. What happens when you add salt to ice? And then how can melted ice actually be colder than a solid ice cube? Think about that. So read that article, watch that video, and answer those questions. Go ahead and pause this video right now to do those two things. Now that you have those things done, we're going to look at the recipe that we're going to use to make ice cream. So here's what we're going to need: a half cup of milk, half cup of whipping cream, sugar, a flavoring, 3 cups of ice, some table salt, and then a couple Ziploc bags, both a quart size and a gallon size Ziploc bag. Okay? We are going to, number 1, mix milk, whipping cream, sugar, and flavoring in a small quart-size Ziploc bag. Your teacher will talk about how to do that with you in class. You're going to add ice and table salt to a large gallon Ziploc bag. You're going to put the sealed small Ziploc bag with the ingredients into the bigger bag and then seal it. And then you're going to mix the ice cream, or mix the ingredients using the method that you choose until you have solid ice cream. So what we want to do now is highlight the flavor. So with your partner, go ahead and look at this right now. You could have vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry. So go ahead and highlight in green which one you would like to do. I would make chocolate if I was making this. And then how much sugar am I going to need? Well, if I'm using chocolate syrup right here, so I'm going to highlight again the flavoring. How much sugar am I going to need? That's going to be 2 tablespoons. I'm going to use less sugar for making chocolate than vanilla because there's already sugar in the chocolate syrup that I'm going to use. Okay? Now you need to decide with your partner what mixing method you're going to use. So you need to decide, are you going to shake your ingredients, and that would be the best way to make ice cream? Are you going to rock it kind of back and forth, and that will work? Are you going to knead it, kind of like bread dough where you just squish? Or are you going to flip it, where you just take your ingredients and just keep flipping it over and over? So you're going to decide which one you're going to do. When you decide which one, you're going to highlight that in blue. Once you have those things highlighted, then we have some other questions to answer. So based on what you've done in class today, answer these questions. Okay? There's 3 must-answer questions. There's 1 that you should answer. And then once you're done with those, you have a summary for today. What did you learn? and how are you successful?